הבחירה on today's Ben Metzorim, also to give Zoka B'tzibur. First, everybody should give Zoka B'tzibur, and it should bring the union of Sima Golus. We have the cover today to have a Choshev guest. He's not a guest, but a person that everybody knows, a Choshev Mechaber Sforim, and he gave us the insight of the wedding of the Rebbe, which happened 90, how many years ago? No? לא חייש פייטס, נו אוקיי, פיין. זה שכמעט בעל 90 יור, בעל 100 יור. הרב החוסיד, הרב שניאור, זלמן, הרצל, is going to give us a shir in הלכות בייס הבחירה. הרב הרצל, בבקשה. Please give זלוקה בציבור.
Shabbos Parsha Shmini, Tov Shinun. It looked like a regular Parsha, a regular week, and sometimes the Bochum 770 they used to guess to see what the Rebbe going to speak Shabbos, what's going to be in the Sikha. And we are guessing the Rebbe going to speak it Shabbos after Pesach, Shabbos Mevochim for this year. But when the Rebbe came into the Farbringen, right away the Rebbe says we have the minhag to learn Rambam every day, 3 prokim a day, 1 perik a day, or Sefer HaMitzvahs. And what we learned today in 3 prokim, it's about Ilchet Beis HaBchira, about Shmiras HaMikdash. And from that point on, the Rebbe continued to speak Ba'arichus Gdoilo. Almost the entire Farbringen was about Shmiras HaMikdash, the mitzvah what we have to put guards on Beis HaMikdash. Is we're going to say this Sikha. Just to mention, this year we say the capital of the Rebbe is Kapitel Kuf Chof Aleph. We mentioned there also Shomer, the Shoresh of Shomer, few times, 6 times in the Perek. One of that we say in Elo Yomnu Veloishon Shomer Yisrael, and the Rebbe mentioned that also in this Sikha, what we're going to say now in the Kudus of this Sikha. First of all, we're going to read the part of the Rambam, the Haloch in Rambam, then we're going to see what the Rebbe says. Shmiras HaMikdash, mitzvah saseh. We have a mitzvah to put guards in Beis HaMikdash. V'af al pi she'en shom pachad me'oivim ve'lo milistim, even though we're not afraid from enemies, from robbers. She'en shmirosoi elo koved loi. Why we are putting shomrim? It's because we honor the Beis HaMikdash, to give koved to the place. Eino doime palterin she'esh olav shomrin lepalterin she'en olav shomrin. We cannot compare a palace, what you have there guards, and a palace, what you don't see it. When you see the guards outside, it gives cover to the place. V'shmira zu mitzvoso kol halayla. When we should have the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash by night. Other shittas, they say the mitzvah to have Shmiras HaMikdash it's also by day and by night. But the Rambam holds we have to put only by night. Why? Because by day we have the avoid in Beis HaMikdash. The avoid itself, it's a union of covet of the Beis HaMikdash. What we do there, the avoiders, we don't need their shemrim. But by night we have to put shemrim. V'ashemrim em akoyanim v'alevim. We're gonna be the guards in Beis HaMikdash. We don't take simple people. We take the koyanim, the levim, because the whole idea is to bring out the covet of the place. You're bringing it by putting there special people like koyanim and levim. And if we don't put the shemrim in Beis HaMikdash, we are over of loisaseh. As we see, we have a mitzvah seh, a mitzvah loisaseh. We should have shemrim in Beis HaMikdash. Now the Rebbe says, what is the whole idea of Koved HaMikdash is not because of the building, because of the stones there. It's because the Shechina is there. And if the Shechina is there forever. Like the Rambam says there also in the Ilchet Beis HaBchira, Kedusha Rishono Kitcha Losid Lovoi, לפי שקדושת המקדש וירושלים מפני השכינה, ושכינה אינו בתילו. והרי הוא אומר, והשימויסי אס מקדשיכם, ואומרו חכמים, the Gemara says, אף על פי ששוממים בקדושתן הם עומדים. Is even though the Beis HaMikdash is Chorev, but still the Shechina is there forever, and therefore we have, this is the Mokum of the Shechina, the Kedusha is still there. As if so, the Rebbe is asking a question, a strong question, why we don't see we should have Shmiras HaMikdash today. In our days we should do this mitzvah, we should bring their shemrim to be outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Of course we cannot walk inside and we have to be careful the places where to be there in which place, but around Beis Hamikdash we can still today to do the mitzvah to bring their Koyanim Levim. They should be the Shoimrim in Beis Hamikdash. And the Rebbe says it's not only the Shechina there. Actually, we see there also some things what belongs to Beis Hamikdash, like the Oroin, Mate Aroin, Tzitzene Saman, Shemna Mishcho. They are still there in the bottom of Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Gniza, the Gonus there. We have a part of Klei HaMikdash there. We should put there also Shoimrim. And Rebbe says we have another mitzvah today of Iras HaMikdash, to have fear from Beis Hamikdash. And the Rambam says about Iras Mikdash, Af al pi she'hamikdash hayoim chorav b'avoinoseinu, chayev odom b'meiroi, k'mo she'noi b'binyanoi. And the Rambam says few things what we should do, we should not do. Lo yikones elo mokim shemutar likones lesham. As we see also today, in the time of the Golus, we still have a mitzvah of Iras HaMikdash. The Rebbe says if Iras HaMikdash, but it's only a mitzvah saseh, is kol shekein when we're talking here about Shmiras HaMikdash, it's a mitzvah seh and mitzvah leis seh. It's a big mitzvah. We see we have to bring their special people like Koyanim and Levim, and we do it. Some Shitta says we should do it by day and by night. And also, if the Rambam is saying only by night, it's because we have by day we have the avodah. The question is why we don't see people are doing the mitzvah today, and we don't see even Gdolei Yisrael. They should put effort. They should do something about that. We don't see a shtadlus of Gdolei Yisrael. We should have Shoimrim in Beis Hamikdash. The Rebbe says years ago it was a person. His name is Reb Moshe Meshel Gelbstein. He gave out a sefer Mishkana Islabir Yaakov. He lived like 150 years ago, and he in this sefer is explaining why we should do the mitzvah, and brings many shittas and rayos, and he also was mishtadel, and he wants the mitzvah should be fulfilled. And if we see somebody he was mishtadel in this mitzvah, but the Rebbe says it's only das yochid, only one person. We don't see Gdolei Yisrael. They didn't accept it, even though he used to go and try to do the mitzvah, but not other Gdolei Yisrael. And the Rebbe says the question is more than that, because Rabbi Sei Nesienu, we don't see they should do something about that, even though we know all the Rebbeim, starting from the Alter Rebbe, they have Mesiras Nefesh for Eretz Yisrael. The Alter Rebbe sent money to Eretz Yisrael to support people in Eretz Yisrael, Koil Chabad and so on. Is why we don't see by Rabbi Sei Nesienu, we don't see they should do something about the mitzvah, what L'chura belong also to our days, to have the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash. And we cannot say, maybe some Gdolei Yisrael they did the mitzvah, but they did it b'chashoi, in a secret way, in a hidden way, because the whole idea is to bring kavod to the place. If to bring kavod to the place, you cannot send their shemrim b'chashoi. Like the Rambam says, ein odei mepalter in sheish olof shemrim lepalter in she'en olof shemrim. The whole idea of shemrim is something should be bepirsum and not something b'chashoi. This is one part of the Sikha. And also the Rebbe mentioned here in the Aura, in our days we should have Shemrim all the time. In the time of Beis Hamikdash, according to the Rambam, what we have to put Shemrim only by night, not by day. It's because we have the Avodah during the day. But in our days, what we missing the Avodah side by day, side by night, we should put Shemrim all the time, by day and by night. Like we see also Pasuk in Shayo, he says, Al Choimosayich Yerushalayim Ifkati Shemrim Kol Hayom Kol Halaylo. It's L'chura, we should have Shemrim all the time. And then the Rebbe goes also from another point of view, because the Rebbe says, Achakele B'chol Yom Sheyovoi. The Mashiach can come every minute, every second, Miyad Ein Nigolim. And therefore also the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi could come from the Shamayim any moment. Is if so, we need Shemrim should be there. They should be ready to start the avodah in Beis Hamikdash. We cannot do such a thing. The Beis Hamikdash is going to come down, and then we're going to look for somebody as a volunteer. He should be a Shomer there. We have to do it in advance. And Kolshkin in our generation, after we see all the Simonim in Chazal, we are the last generation of Golus, the first generation of Geula. is we have to do something about that. The Shemrim should be there, ready for the Beis HaMikdash. And the Rebbe brings also from the Sefer Mishkonos L'Abir Yaakov, he says, actually the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash never moved from the Koyanim, because it's every second, it's Roi, the Beis HaMikdash should come down, is because of that, Lo Nifka mitzvah klal ma'Koyanim. The mitzvah didn't go away from the Koyanim from the time of the Beis HaMikdash was Choref till today. The mitzvah, they still have the same mitzvah because they have to be ready to start the Avodah Beis HaMikdash. And this is going to be also the first thing what we're going to do in Beis HaMikdash. Before we're going to be Makriv Korbanes, the first thing what we need to do to bring Shomrim to Beis HaMikdash. This is the question, what the Rebbe is explaining it in different ways from different points of view, but the bottom line is the question, how come we don't see not Klal Yisrael and not Gdol Yisrael and not Rabbi Seinu, none of them did something about that from the time of Chum Beis HaMikdash till today. It should be Shomrim in Beis HaMikdash, in the place around Beis HaMikdash. And the Rebbe says the answer is like this: because we know the main rule in the Torah, if we have a case of Pikuach Nefesh is Doiche Kol HaTorah Kula, and of course it's Doiche also the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash. And after the time of the Chum Beis HaMikdash, the Golus start, and we are under the government, what is, we see there sometimes Seinei Yisrael, what they are against all the Yiddishkeit and Eden, is therefore it's a sakona to bring their Shomrim. And even though we see some generations, sometimes we have good times in the Golus, and maybe we can ask is why in that times we should not bring Shomrim. So it says, Kevan di itche. Also in times what it's not Pikuach Nefesh, because the mitzvah was nitche, because of Pikuach Nefesh, is we didn't go back to that and we lived it like that. And the Rebbe says more than that. Actually, we know be'alocha be'yadua she'es of Soiner leYaakov, and it goes from generation to the generation. And the goyim, they are teaching their children also to hate the Eden, to be against them. Is even if you are in a time what Yad Yisrael Takifo, and even if you have peace, you have a Eskem Sholem, is you cannot know what some Yechidim gonna do. Is therefore we have to be careful, and because of that of Pikuach Nefesh, afilu Sofek of Pikuach Nefesh, but this is Doiche Kol HaTorah Kulo. Therefore we don't see Gdol Yisrael they should do such a thing. They didn't put effort to fulfill the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash. But in the end, the Rebbe stays with Tzor Chiyun Ktsas. The Rebbe says, even though after the whole explanation what the Rebbe just said now, the Rebbe says it's still a question because Rabbi Seinu, they have Mesirus Nefesh for Chizuk Eretz Yisrael. That's why we don't see they did something about that, even an Idur mitzvah, and if not all the times, sometimes, and maybe in the times what anyway they are going to the Koislam Ha'aravi, maybe in that time they should put their Shomrim. Therefore the Rebbe says it's still Tzor Chiyun Ktsas, but the Rebbe finished the Sikha by saying, even though we don't have the mitzvah begashmias to have Shmiras HaMikdash begashmias, but we have the idea beruchnias. What is the idea of Shmiras HaMikdash beruchnias? The Rebbe says, we spoke a few times already about Beis Chabad and Beis Mikdash Me'at, and everybody should have in his house a Mikdash Me'at to make his room, his house, to put the rechitas, pushka tzedakah. And the Rebbe says, this is what I don't repeat it again and again. It's not because it's not important, it's because we don't have to repeat everything again and again. It's everybody is supposed to do it to make a Mikdash Me'at, and Shmiras HaMikdash means to respect all the Sitrei Kodesh and all the Inyanim of Dusha, what we have in the house, to respect it. And this is going to bring, we should have in Girchen the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, and the Rabbi is finishing the Sikha by saying, Oid Lifnei Zeh, is we have the Pasuk Lo Yonom V'Lo Ishon Shomer Yisrael, is not only we are fulfilling the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash, also Hashem from his side is also Shomer of the Eden, and not because Pachad Me'oivim Ve'Melistim, it's because Hashem gives covet to the Eden, and therefore Hashem is Shomer Yisrael, and should be this galus from the Rebbe HaMashiach take V'yad Mamash.